Not at all.
I just wanted to make sure, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is the markup, and the markup will come to order. Chairman Rowe is not here. So today we'll be marking up a total of 6 bills that would improve the lives of our nation's veterans and their families, and the bills on today's agenda would provide a COLA for veterans and their loved ones, revise guidance relating to private medical evidence, and shield veterans from fraud, assist with cost borne by families who need to lay their loved ones to rest, and clarify VA's authority to continue paying for the cost of veterans who must travel to contracted disability examinations. Following committee rules, staff has received information, cost estimates from the Congressional Budget Office on each of these measures. I would like also to say that I initially intended to advance H.R. 299, the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act, on marking up agenda, but despite the CBO's estimate that this will cost approximately $1.2 billion over 10 years. But given the over $1 billion score, this bill, and after consulting with Chairman Rowe, we decided that we would need to reach a bipartisan consensus and on an offset for this bill before forwarding it to the full committee. This decision was not made lightly, but I saw no other choice given the last week's controversy over the large offsets for the veterans' bills. I'm committed to finding a path forward for this bill, and I hope the ranking member Walsh and ranking member Essie will be willing to work with us and Chairman Rowe to find a way to pay for this important bill. Moving on to the bills that we do have on the agenda. I have 2 bills on the agenda today, and both were co-sponsored by distinguished ranking members. One, H.R. 1329, is the annual COLA for the VA benefits to ensure that the veterans and the families are able to keep up with rate of inflation. The other is H.R. 1328, which would provide an automatic COLA every year that Social Security recipients receive one, without waiting for Congress to take action. Several of these bills carry a cost. House rules require that we find the offsets for any cost before these bills can advance to the floor. H.R. 105, H.R. 1390, and H.R. 1725 will all require offsets before moving forward. I will continue to work with ranking member, and along with the Chairman Rowe and the rest of the colleagues on the committee to identify the appropriate offsets. To save time, I will ask for unanimous consent that after we mark up the amendment to H.R. 1329 and the amendments in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1390 and H.R. 1725, that we consider the rest of the agenda in block. Before the in-block vote, I will recognize any member who wishes to speak on any of the remaining bills being considered today. I now recognize Ranking Member Esty for any opening remarks she may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for holding today's markup. Throughout my time in Congress, I've seen time and time again that when a veteran receives a positive decision of service connection on a claim, it can profoundly affect the way he or she lives. Since becoming ranking member of the DAMA subcommittee, I have learned a great deal about the complicated set of laws and programs that govern these decisions. So today, as we begin our first markup of the 115th Congress, I want to say how very appreciative I am that the processes of agreeing on topics and bills for the agenda before us today has been entirely collaborative and bipartisan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and your staff for ensuring that all of us on the subcommittee share the responsibility of improving those laws and overseeing the VA as it implements them so veterans' lives are improved more simply, more fairly, and faster. We've worked together to introduce H.R. 1328 and H.R. 1329, the American Heroes COLA Act of 2017, and the Veterans Compensation COLA Adjustment Act, which ensures that we are keeping economic pace and keeping faith with our veterans with service-connected disabilities and surviving spouses of veterans who receive dependency and indemnity compensation. This is simply the right thing to do for our veterans and survivors, and hopefully we can get these bills to the President's desk very soon. H.R. 1729, the Quicker Veterans Benefits Delivery Act, is an important part of today's agenda. This bill, introduced by Ranking Member Waltz, encourages the use of private medical evidence that is competent and credible for rating purposes by VA, thereby eliminating the need for a separate medical examination. In order to reduce the cost of the bill, I will be introducing an amendment in the nature of a substitute today on behalf of Ranking Member Waltz, which pares the bill down to requiring VA to report a series of statistics which will give us on the committee the data we need to prove that private medical evidence can indeed save time and money for veterans going through the claims process. Also on today's agenda is H.R. 105, the Protect Veterans from Financial Fraud Act, introduced by our colleague on the subcommittee, Julia Brownlee. It protects veterans from the misuse of their money by a fiduciary by expanding the Secretary's authority to pay recompense to a fiduciary who has been a victim of fraud. It also codifies the veteran's right to appeal the decision made by the VA to appoint a fiduciary. I support all of the bills on the agenda today wholeheartedly. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. And there you go. Now we got a microphone on. That helps. And I want to thank you, Ranking Member SD, that because we have worked well together, and the staff is on your side has been a great help as well. Okay, so now I want to call up H.R. 1329. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1329, to increase, effective as December 1st, 2017, the rates of compensation for veterans with service-connected disabilities and the rates of dependency and indemnity compensation for the survivors of certain disabled veterans, to amend Title 38, United States Code, to improve the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, to improve the processing of claims by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and for other purposes.
The bill was circulated in advance and pursuant to committee rules without objection. The first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for any amendments at any point. I have an amendment at the desk. The clerk shall report.
An amendment to H.R. 1329, offered by Mr. Bost of Illinois.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself to discuss the amendment. My amendment would simply make a technical correction to the bill title. There is no change to the substance of the bill, which is to make sure that the veterans receive a COLA next year. I urge all of my colleagues to support the amendment in the nature of a substitute and H.R. 1329. Is there any discussion? No discussion? You like the, yeah, that's why we changed it. That's right. No other discussion, no other one seeking recognition. The question now occurs on my amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And Madam Chair, the ayes have it. Is there any discussion on H.R. 1329 as amended?
Mr. Chairman, I would simply join you in urging all of our colleagues to support this very important and worthwhile bill and advance it to the committee for action as soon as possible.
Anyone else seeking recognition? Since no other amendments are timely filed, the question now occurs on the passage of H.R. 1329 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Madam Chair, the ayes have it. I now recognize Ranking Member Esty for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Bill H.R. 1329 as amended be favorably forwarded to the full committee.
There's a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the H.R. 1329 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 1390. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1390, to amend Title 38 United States Code to authorize the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to pay costs relating to the transportation of certain deceased veterans to veterans cemeteries owned by state or tribal organization.
The bill was circulated in advance and pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for an amendment at any point.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Banks,
I have an amendment at the desk.
the clerk shall report.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1390, offered by Mr. Banks of Indiana.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. I now recognize Mr. Banks for 5 minutes to discuss the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a straightforward amendment that would allow the Secretary to transport unclaimed veterans' remains to specified state or tribal cemeteries in addition to national cemeteries as in the underlying bill. This expands options for veterans while increasing flexibility for the VA without increasing the cost of the bill and is a common sense change to my underlying bill. The amendment would also change the definition of covered veterans cemeteries to ones that have received a VA grant. This will ensure that remains are transported to cemeteries that follow VA standards and requirements. With that, I encourage a yes vote and its immediate adoption. Thank you, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. I support the amendment and in the nature of substitute and urge my colleagues to support as well. Is there any discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute?
Mr. Chairman, I too would like to support this very worthwhile amendment. It's a very important underlying bill that gives the flexibility and the respect that our veterans should have to have their remains in appropriate places. And I want to thank the gentleman for Indiana for his hard work on this, and look forward to everyone adopting this amendment and forwarding the bill to the committee.
See no one else seeking recognition. Since no other amendments were timely filed and the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of a substitute for H.R. 1390. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill as amended? Hearing none. The question now occurs on the passage of the bill, H.R. 1390, as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the H.R. 1390, as amended, is agreed to. I now recognize Ranking Member Essie for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 1390 as amended be favorably forwarded to the full committee.
A motion is on the floor to favorably report the bill to the full committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? And pending chair, the ayes have it. I now call up H.R. 1725. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1725, to amend Title 38, United States Code, to improve the treatment of medical evidence provided by non-Department of Veterans Affairs medical professionals in support of claims for disability compensation under the laws administered by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and for other purposes.
The bill was circulated in advance and pursuant to the committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendments at any point.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk.
The clerk shall report.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1725, offered by
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of substitute be dispensed with. Hearing no objections, so ordered. The gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes to speak to her amendment in the nature of substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer this amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1725 with the full support of Ranking Member Walz, the bill's sponsor. He has been the lead on this issue of private medical evidence for many years. The ANS focuses the bill down to instructing the VA to collect better data so Congress can more fully understand the issues veterans face providing VA with medical evidence from outside sources during the claims process. Hopefully, this data will make it easier in the future to pass legislation requiring VA to accept all credible, probative, private medical evidence. As the full committee turns its attention to appeals reform next week, I look forward to our continuing work with both Chairman Bost and Chairman Rowe on ensuring that the system for providing the necessary medical evidence in order to advance an appeal is easier for veterans and does not bog down the rest of the system like it does now. I ask all of my colleagues to join me in supporting this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
I want to thank the gentlelady, and I fully support the amendment in the nature of a substitute. and I urge all of my colleagues to support it as well. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute? Seeing none, since no other amendments were timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of a substitute on H.R. 1725. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, the question now occurs on the passage of the bill H.R. 1725 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 1725 as amended is agreed to. I now recognize Ranking Member Estes for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 1725 as amended be forwarded to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
There we go. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. H.R. 1725 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now ask unanimous consent to consider H.R. 105, H.R. 1328, H.R. 1564 in block. Hearing no objection, so ordered. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 105, to amend Title 38 United States Code to ensure that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs repays the misuse.
I ask that the reading of the bills be dispensed with. Hearing no objections, so ordered. The bills were circulated in advance and pursuant to the committee rules. Is there any discussion on the bills remaining on the agenda? Ms. Brownlee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and the ranking member for bringing all of these bills forward today. They're all important, and I support them very, very much, and I just wanted to speak very briefly to H.R. 105. This bill really recognizes a statutory problem that needs to be fixed so that every veteran, if they need the fiduciary program within the VA, and if that fiduciary misuses or steals a veteran's benefits, that they are reimbursed. And this is a bill that I have carried several years now, and I hope very much that we'll move this forward, get it to the Senate, and get the signature by the president, because it's it's a small problem, but a very important problem that I think can easily be fixed. So thank you for your consideration, and I yield back.
Anyone else seeking recognition on any of the bills? And I do want to say that it is vitally important. It is vitally important, and we'll be working with you to move it on from there. Since no amendments were timely filed, the question now occurs on the remaining agenda items. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. I now recognize Ranking Member Essie for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 105, H.R. 1328, and H.R. 1564 be forwarded to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bills. As those in favor, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And the ayes have it. And the remaining agenda items are favorably forwarded to the full committee. Summarizing today's votes, the subcommittee has voted to forward H.R. 105, H.R. 1328, H.R. 1329 as amended, H.R. 1390 as amended, H.R. 1564, and H.R. 1725 as amended, favorably to the full committee. I ask unanimous consent that the committee staff be authorized to make technical, clerical, and conforming changes to the bills favorably forwarded today. That wasn't easy to say for some reason. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I thank the members for their attendance, and the subcommittee is now adjourned. Thank you.